Will the Senate please come to order? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Aquino, Senator Awa,
Here.
Senator Chang, Senator DeCoit,
Here.
Senator Dela Cruz, Senator Elefante,
Here.
Senator Favela,
Here.
Senator Fukunaga, Senator Gabbard, Senator Ihara,
Present.
Senator Inoue,
Present.
Senator Kanuha, Senator Keith Agaran, Senator Keoho Kalole,
Excused.
Senator Kidani, Senator Kim, Senator Lee, Senator McKelvey,
Aye.
Senator Moriwaki, Senator Rhodes, Senator Richards, Senator San Buenaventura, Senator Shimabukuro,
Excused.
Senator Wakai. Mr. President,
Present.
23 present, 2 excused.
Thank you. The chair has read the journal of the preceding day and approves the same. Are there any introductions this morning? Senator Inoue.
Thank you, Mr. President. As our young woman who just gave us the moment of contemplation, I want to introduce to you my youngest intern who is here this morning working in my office. And some of you, I would say the dated of all of us, will remember some of her family. Let me introduce my young intern today, Hope Matsuura, and she is the daughter of our late Senator David Matsuura, who was in this chamber as well. Her grandfather was Senator Dick Matsuura, who was a stalwart here in the chambers for many years, and a good example who was a big supporter of agriculture. Hope is here on Oahu attending Hawaiian Mission Academy. She is a sophomore, and I guess she'll follow the footsteps, perhaps like her grandfather and her dad did. Very interesting that I kind of hanai'd her on flight. She was on the regular schedule going into, coming here to Oahu on Mondays and returning to Hilo on Fridays. And I'm wondering why this young woman is doing what I have been doing for the last 4 months. But because of her age, and I did kind of hanai'd her and say, you know what, on your days off, being here on Oahu, stuck at the dorm, come to visit the Capitol. And she says, I will take you on that. So she's here experiencing the lifestyle of our politics in the Capitol, as well as being my constituent. Also, my pleasure in introducing my Hilo liaison, Rhea Lee Moku, who's handling all of my work while I'm here at the Capitol working in my district. Welcome to the Capitol.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are very fortunate and privileged and honored to have with us today the leader of another fellow Pacific Island nation, the Republic of Palau. So with us in his delegation is the leader of Palau, President Whips. Welcome to the Senate.
Thank you. Any further introductions, Senator Favela?
Thank you, Senate President. Today in our gallery, we would like to recognize a group of students from Papahana, Okai, Ona on the Waianae Coast, who are involved in a statewide effort to speak up for Hawaii's birds by advocating the resolution HCR 81, which will establish the Hawaii Honeycreeper Celebration Day. Over the past few months, these students, along with about 2,000 others across the state, learned about the Hawaii Honeycreeper and the legislative process to advocate for the resolution this year, with more than 1,500 pieces of students' testimony submitted. These courageous students had stepped forward to share their stories and knowledge and the art, and look forward to the day which we can celebrate this amazing honeycreeper. In the need of our help by highlighting and conservation efforts being used to protect them. Allow me to introduce our guests from Papa'o Kaiona. Please stand and remain standing until I finish reading the names and then hold you guys' applause. So pray for me. Vice Principal Ray Oshita, Kumu Shannon Pukasa. Sorry. Abigail Asuega, Brina Joshua, Precious Noble, Akina Tylee, Kumu Kaylee Khalif, sorry, Kumu Yami Misu, I can't have time with this one, Mayota, whatever, sorry. I will make sure the Senate President put him in the journey correctly when I give him the correct spelling. Forgive me. Give them a round of applause. Welcome them to the Hawaii State Capitol, and may their names be entered in the Thank you, Senate President.
Thank you. Further introductions. Senator Kidani.
Aloha, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Senator Shimabukuro, who was unable to join us today, I am pleased to introduce to you the motivated students from Nanakuli High and Intermediate School who have been working diligently to develop a prototype environmental business plan involving the recycling and repurposing of community cardboard waste. This team is known as the Scrappers Union 96792. Under the leadership of Kumu Michelle Piper, have acquired a portable cardboard shredder and developed a sustainable business model of shredding waste cardboard to create marketable packaging material, soil compost, sheet mulching, and compostable pots for plants. In fact, they were so successful that they entered their business plan in a competition with hundreds of other students and various schools, wherein they came in first place, winning a prize of $25,000. Admirably, they have decided to donate this money in order that other schools can purchase their own shredders and also build a business plan and experience the satisfaction of making a difference to the environment, reducing their carbon footprint, and marketing new, natural-friendly products. Senate President, I'm going to introduce the members of the Scrappers Union 96792 and ask that their names be put in the journal. And I think I will give you the names also, so that in case I read them wrong. And please stand, Scrappers Union, when your name is called, and members, hold your applause until all names are read. With us today are our teachers, Kumu Michelle Piper, Kumu Mikes, Miss Helena Bakutis Kekaula, our students, Tili Ona Puanani Ke'ohuhu, Ke'ohu Mahoy, Kanoi Torres, Nahe Ka'ava Kawai, Brenson Ewan, and Jeana Lay, along with members Jeremiah Magalonis and Paul Nahulu. Congratulations to Scrappers Union 96792, and welcome to your state senate. Mahalo, Mr. President. Members, the students have asked that you join them for lunch in room 016 following our session today.
Thank you. So when Senator Kidani and Senator Favela submit the list with the names, then those names will be entered into the journal correctly. Any further introductions? Senator Wakai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to introduce to my colleagues 3 UH students who are here to support equity in criminal justice reform here in the state of Hawaii. They are part of the Opportunity Youth Action Hawaii, and they're interns there. And they are Haumea Velasco, if you could please stand when I read your name. Haumea Velasco, Sydney Story, and Leah de los Santos, and they are accompanied by our friend Melissa Pavlicek. Please welcome them to our chambers.
Any further introductions? If not, Madam Clerk.
Governor's message number 9 transmits a proposed draft amending House Bill 1004 to fund the tentative agreement concerning collective bargaining unit 5.
File.
On pages 2 through 7, House Communication numbers 829 and 830 inform the Senate that the House has appointed conferees to various bills. And on page 7, House Communication number 831 informs the Senate that the House has discharged conferees for Senate Bill 911.
File.
On pages 8 to 13, Standing Committee Report numbers 1945 to 1961 for one-day notice.
So ordered.
On page 13, Deferred Matters, Advise and Consent, Standing Committee Report number 1909 on Governor's Message number 552, which was withdrawn by the Governor on Wednesday, April 19.
Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move to file Standing Committee Report number 1909.
Senator Decoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. The clerk is directed to file Standing Committee Report number 1909 and place the same in the journal.
On pages 14 and 15, Advise and Consent.
If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking advice and consent on consent.
Standing Committee Report numbers 1937 to 1941 on Governor's Messages for adoption.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
23 ayes.
Thank you. The nominees for the respective governor's messages have been confirmed. Do we have any introductions for any of the GMs who may be present in the audience? Senator Decoit.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to introduce Karen Barr, who will be coming to serve on the Community-Based Economic Development Advisory Council. If you'd please stand. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
On page 15, Standing Committee Report number 1942 on Governor's Message 514, Kenneth Fink, gubernatorial nominee as the Director of the Department of Health for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Senator San Buenaventura.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I urge you to join me in supporting the nomination of Dr. Kenneth Fink as the Director of Department of Health. Dr. Fink has an extensive background of public, private, academic, and military sector experience. Prior to joining the Department of Health, Dr. Fink worked as a Vice President for Medicare and Medicaid programs at HMSA before he was the Director of Student Health Services for Kamehameha Schools. His government work includes serving as a State MedQuest Director for Hawaii under Governors Lingle and Abercrombie, the Chief Medical Officer for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Region 10, and Director of the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force and the Evidence-Based Practice Centers programs at the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. It is not presumptuous to say that Kenny Fink, he does like to be called Kenny, is supremely qualified for this position. I have over 2 pages in small type of the many awards and accommodations he has. Yet he is so humble that even after decades of being an administrator, he thinks of himself as a family doctor first. His work with Native Americans in Juneau, Alaska, and as family doctor in Seattle, Washington, and other states prior to the government experience shows that he is able to work with people. Indeed, he is board certified in both family medicine and preventive medicine. Like our governor doctor, Kenny Fink also holds many titles. Professor for the many classes he has taught in the universities, and colonel. He's a retired flight surgeon for the U.S. Air Force and has served with the Air National Guard for the past 7 years. He earned numerous medals, such as a Defense Meritorious Service Medal and an Air Force Commendation Medal with 1 oak leaf cluster. It would be an honor to have a veteran serve the state of Hawaii as he has served our country. His experience as an Air Force colonel will be invaluable in working with the military on the current Red Hill water crisis and to lead us out of this pandemic. I trust that he will meet the high expectations set by his team and the public. And frankly, in working with him, it appears that he has already been made a family of the Department of Health. So I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
23 ayes.
Thank you. Dr. Kenneth Fink has been confirmed as the Director of the Department of Health. Senator San Buenaventura.
Thank you. And I'd like to introduce my colleagues to Director Kenny Fink. And as I stated, the Department of Health has already made him his family. So joining him as part of his family is we have Dr. Marian Suji, please rise, Dr. Champion, Kathy Ho, and Susan Fernandez, who are, please all rise. And thank you very much for welcoming Dr. Kenny Fink with us.
Madam Clerk.
Standing Committee Report number 1943 on Governor's Message number 527, Susan Fernandez, gubernatorial nominee as the Deputy Director of the Department of Health, for adoption.
Thank you. I should have said this before entertaining the discussion on Dr. Fink, as we have about 5 minutes of agenda. After we conclude with the three nominees, we will not recess to greet them, but we'll finish the agenda, adjourn, and then greet the cabinet members who are confirmed. Is there any discussion on Susan Fernandez's nomination? Senator San Buenaventura.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise again in strong support of this nominee.
Please proceed.
Colleagues, I urge you to join me and support the nomination of Susan Fernandez to continue as Deputy Director of the Department of Health. Deputy Director Fernandez has over a decade of experience in various administrative and managerial government positions. As a former resident of the Puna District, Deputy Director Fernandez has an intimate understanding of the healthcare challenges unique to our neighbor island Ohana and rural communities of Oahu. She's a good support for Dr. Fink. She has earned a Bachelor of Business Administration, Master's of Business Administration from the UH at Manoa. Prior to her appointment, Ms. Fernandez served as Deputy Director of the Department of Community Services for the City and County of Honolulu, Assistant Hospital Administration at Hilo Medical Center, Chief Budget Planning and Management Officer with the Department of Human Services, Budget Analyst and Chief and Analyst at the Hawaii State House of Representatives for the Standing Committee on Finance. Don't hold that against her, please. And Operations Senior Manager of the New Ventures Optical Department at Kaiser Permanente. During Deputy Director Fernandez's advise and consent hearing, your Committee on Health and Human Services received an overwhelming number of testimonies affirming that Ms. Fernandez possesses the commitment, experience, and work ethic to achieve the department's goals and ensure that all Hawaii residents have a fair and just opportunity to achieve optimal health and well-being. In closing, I'm confident that if given the opportunity, Deputy Director Fernandez will exceed the high expectations set by those before her, and I urge my colleagues to join me in support her nomination.
Thank you. Any further discussion? So that you don't have to worry, Senator San Buenaventura, nobody's going to hold a house service against her. We have 12 members of this body who unfortunately served in the House before they came here, so I'm sure that half the caucus understands. Any objection, or do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
23 ayes.
Thank you. Susan Fernandez has been confirmed as Deputy Director of the Department of Health. Senator San Buenaventura.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also now like to also introduce Deputy Director Susan Fernandez. Welcome. Congratulations.
So the same family was also there, so, hence not the second intro. Senator Fukunaga?
Thank you, Mr. President. May I be permitted to make a late introduction on Governor's Message number 593? I'd like to ask
Please
my
proceed.
colleagues to join in introducing and welcoming PUC Commissioner Colin Yost, his family, and his PUC staff to the chambers today. Welcome and congratulations.
So our apologies, Commissioner Yost. You are above Senator Fukunaga, who could not initially see you, and Senator Keo Kaloli is attending a conference and not here today, who would have normally done that. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
On page 16, Standing Committee Report number 1944 and Governor's Message number 530, Tammy Lee, gubernatorial nominee as the first Deputy Director for Administration of the Department of Transportation, for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of GM 530, Tammy Lee for first Deputy Director for Administration at the Department of Transportation.
Please proceed.
After reviewing Tammy's resume and qualifications, your Committee on Transportation and Culture and the Arts voted to advise and consent on her nomination. She has spent 17 years at the Department of Transportation, where she has been an effective and innovative administrator who has improved Department of Transportation operations at every step of her career. Before being appointed as first Deputy Director, Tammy served as the Administrative Services Officer at the Department's Highways Division. She also held management roles within the department's administration program as the Business Management Officer and Contracting Officer. Some of her most notable accomplishments include upgrading the department's financial management system, H4, which is set to launch next fall, the electric bicycle and electric moped rebate program, and the Hawaii road usage charge demonstration. Throughout her career, Tammy has made meaningful strides to modernize the department by streamlining internal processes for hiring, contracting, and fiscal management. She has reorganized outdated departmental structures and practices to better meet Hawaii's changing transportation needs. Tammy was the architect of the Highways Division Engineer Wiki Hire pilot program, an innovative response to pervasive vacancies, and in just 9 months, she onboarded an impressive 46 highly skilled engineers. As Deputy Director, she will expand the Wiki Hire program to fill even more vacancies throughout DOT. And she has led the Highways Division through the pandemic with grace, developing telework policies that strengthened her team in the face of chaos and uncertainty. And she also has an extensive experience managing the department's finances. As the Highways Division ASO, she led the acquisition of $300 million worth of bond proceeds. She has overseen many aspects of the department's budget, ensuring that taxpayer money is used ethically and productively. In my interactions with her, I found Tammy to be a humble team player and a dedicated civil servant. She is passionate, goal-oriented, and ready to work with the legislature to get things done. I'm confident that Tammy will be successful as the first Deputy Director. Her depth of experience, problem-solving skills, and organizational expertise are just what the department needs as we work together to modernize transportation in Hawaii. I urge you all to vote to advise and consent on GM 530, Tammy Lee for first Deputy Director of the Department of Transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, Senator McKelvey?
Thank you, Mr. President. I too would like to stand in support of Tammy Lee
Please
for
proceed.
the Department of Transportation. One of the things that she brings to the table, which isn't discussed, but affects your Committee on Government Operations greatly, is her skill and knowledge and innovation in the procurement code, in the procurement of projects that are desperately needed to be delivered in order to expend the CIP that this body allocates and to ensure that we have a transportation system that is needed. I've already begun discussions with her on some of her ideas and initiatives for next session. I'm pleased and hopeful in working with her and your committee on introducing bills next session to help to expedite the procurement process and continue to ensure that our CIP monies are expedited in the best way possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
23 ayes.
Thank you. Tammy Lee has been confirmed as First Deputy Director for the Administration of the Department of Transportation. Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm happy to present our new first Deputy Director, the Department of Transportation, Tammy Lee. Congratulations. I'd just like to also introduce Tammy's guests in the gallery. Joining Tammy this afternoon are her family members Chris Tungjian, Gail Antai, and several friends. Welcome to the Senate. Oh, I apologize, Mr. President. Also, nominee for Director of the Department of Transportation, Ed Sniffen.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
On pages 16 to 18, adoption of resolutions, Standing Committee Report numbers 1926 to 1936 for adoption.
Senator Wakai?
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of Standing Committee Reports numbers 1926 to 1936.
Senator Decoit?
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Senator Awa?
Mahalo Pelekikena. Can you mark down my no vote for HCR number 192?
So ordered. Senator Favela?
My reservations for 1931.
1931 or 1932 HCR 117?
HCR number 117.
So ordered. Any other reservations or no votes? If not, with the two objections, the motion is carried. Said resolutions have been adopted.
On page 19, final reading.
If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking final reading on consent.
Final reading of Senate Bill 869, House Draft 1, relating to the Youth Commission.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
23 ayes.
Thank you. SB 869 HD1 passes final reading.
Referrals and re-referrals.
Referrals and re-referrals are made in accordance with the order of the day and the supplemental orders of the day that may be filed later today.
On page 20, miscellaneous business, reconsideration of disagreement to House amendments and motions to agree. Senate Concurrent Resolution number 219, House Draft 1, requesting that the Department of Land and Natural Resources adopt administrative rules regulating vessel speed near humpback whales.
Senator Inouye?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate reconsider its previous action in disagreeing to the amendments made by the House to SCR number 219 SD1 and agree to said amendments.
Senator Wakai?
Mr. President, I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Senator Inouye?
Thank you, Mr. President. The House version of SCR 219 requesting that the Department of Land and Natural Resources adopt administrative rules regulating vessel speed near humpback whales is not significantly different from the Senate version. For these reasons, I ask that the Senate agree to the House amendments for this resolution. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. One-day notice is hereby given for final adoption of SCR 219 HD1.
No further business, Mr.
Are
President.
there any announcements today? If not, Senator Gabbard.
Yes, Mr. President and colleagues. As I finish my 14th year as your faithful chair of the Environment Committee, I want to remind everyone to go out and hug a tree tomorrow because after all, it is Earth Day. So please join me in celebrating the unique and diverse ecosystems of our island paradise, which is home to countless rare and endangered species found nowhere else in the world. From our lush rainforest to our crystal clear waters, the beauty of Hawai'i reminds us of the importance of protecting our planet. Let us honor the spirit of aloha and show our gratitude by making sustainable choices and preserving the natural wonders of this beautiful place. Together, we can ensure that the future generations can continue to enjoy the rich cultural heritage and breathtaking natural landscapes that make Hawai'i truly special. Mahalo nui loa and happy Aloha Earth Day.
Thank you. Any further announcements? If not, the chair has one. The deadline to file committee reports on amended House concurrent resolutions in order to meet Monday's second crossover deadline is 4:30 p.m. today. The Senate floor action memo issued this evening will include a list of all resolutions scheduled for adoption on Monday. Senator Wakai.
Happy Earth Day and weekend. I move that the Senate stand in recess, leaving the journal open until 4:30 for the receipt of standing committee reports on House concurrent resolutions to be placed on the calendar for adoption. And I further move that the Senate reconvene on Monday, April 24th at 11:30 in the morning.
Senator Decoy.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. If there are no objections from the members, the Senate will stand in recess, leaving the journal open until 4:30 today, and will reconvene Monday at 11:30.